Adaora Nwosu had always dreamed of a life beyond the bustling markets and modest streets of Enugu. Born to a family of tailors, she inherited a sharp eye for design and an unrelenting ambition. While her parents crafted traditional Ankara gowns for local brides and socialites, Adaora envisioned herself dressing Nigeria's elite women who graced magazine covers and whispered their influence in government halls. She worked tirelessly, first as an apprentice in Lagos fashion houses, then launching her own brand. Her designs were bold, blending modern elegance with traditional Igbo aesthetics. Soon, her name was mentioned in luxury circles, and doors that once seemed impossible to open began creaking ajar. But it was at a political gala in Abuja that Adora's fate changed. She met Obinna Kalu, the son of a senator, a man whose family name was synonymous with wealth and power. Handsome, poised, and dangerously charming, Obinna was everything Adora had learned to admire from afar. He was drawn to her confidence, her beauty, and the effortless way she commanded attention without trying. Their whirlwind romance captivated Abuja's social scene. Within months, Adora was no longer just a rising designer. She was the wife of a man whose family held influence in the corridors of power. The wedding was a spectacle, luxurious, extravagant, and broadcasted across society pages. But amid the opulence, Adora couldn't shake the feeling that she had stepped into a world where things were not as they seemed. Obinna's family was welcoming, yet distant. They spoke in half-truths and exchanged knowing glances she couldn't decipher. There were rules, unspoken but firm. Certain rooms in their sprawling mansion remained locked. Certain names were never spoken. And then there was the invitation, arriving in a black envelope sealed with wax, slipped discreetly under her door just weeks after the wedding. A tradition, Obinna explained, reserved for the highest echelons of power. It's just a private gathering, he assured her with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. You'll love it. But as Adora ran her fingers over the embossed golden letters, she felt a chill creep up her spine. Something told her that stepping into this masquerade would change her life forever. The Carlo mansion was unlike anything Adora had ever known. Marble floors that gleamed like mirrors, chandeliers dripping with gold, and halls so vast they swallowed footsteps in silence. Servants moved like shadows, their presence acknowledged only when necessary. It was a home designed to impress, but not to welcome. Adora had always believed that marriage came with intimacy, yet Obinna remained an enigma. He was affectionate but distant, attentive but guarded. Late nights at private meetings, whispered phone calls in the dead of night, things she tried to ignore but couldn't unsee. Then there were the doors. The east wing of the mansion remained locked at all times. When she asked about it, Obinna dismissed her with a casual, just storage rooms, nothing of interest. But Adora had grown up in a family where doors only stayed locked if there were secrets behind them. One evening, curiosity got the better of her. While Obinna was away, she wandered into the east wing, her heart pounding. The corridor smelled different, like aged wood and something faintly metallic. She pressed her ear against a heavy mahogany door. Silence. Then, a whisper. Not a voice, but a movement. Something shifting on the other side. A sudden wave of unease gripped her, and she hurried back to her bedroom before she could push her luck further. That night, she lay beside Obinna, staring at the ceiling, her mind racing. What was he keeping from her? And what awaited her at the masquerade? Adora had always trusted her instincts, and they were screaming at her now. The Kalu household was too perfect, too controlled, like a stage set designed to hide the truth behind velvet curtains. It wasn't just the locked doors or Obina's late night absences. It was the way the servants avoided eye contact when she asked questions, the way her mother-in-law, Lady Nnenna Kalu, studied her with quiet amusement, as though waiting for something. Then there was the night of the power outage. The mansion's generator always roared to life within seconds. But on this particular night, the house was swallowed in darkness. Adaora had just stepped out of the bathroom when she heard it. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, and close. She grabbed her phone and turned on the flashlight, casting a narrow beam across the hallway. The light landed on the end of the corridor, empty. But just as she turned to go back inside, she saw it. A shadow. Not a person, but a shape, elongated, unnatural, shifting at the very edge of her vision. Then the power returned. The house buzzed back to life, and everything looked normal again, except for the cold sweat on her skin and the realization that she was not alone in that corridor. The next morning, she confronted Obinna. I had something last night, she said, watching his expression carefully. Someone was outside our room during the blackout. Obinna barely looked up from his coffee. Servants moving around, probably. It wasn't a servant. This time, he met her gaze, his face unreadable. Adora, let me give you some advice. There are things in this house you don't need to concern yourself with. Trust me, you'll be much happier that way. It was not a reassurance, it was a warning. And with the masquerade drawing closer, Adora feared she was running out of time to uncover the truth before it swallowed her whole. The invitation to the masquerade sat untouched on Adora's dresser, its wax seal unbroken. She had no desire to attend, not until she knew exactly what she was walking into. But information was scarce. Even her closest friend in Abuja, Amaka, had only given her a cryptic warning when Adora mentioned the event. Some things are better left unknown, Ada. Just go, smile, and don't ask questions. That only made Adora more determined. Her opportunity came unexpectedly during a high-profile fashion event in Maitama. She had attended to represent her brand, but her focus wasn't on the runway. It was on the guests. If the masquerade was as exclusive as Obinna claimed, someone here had to know about it. And that was when she saw her, an older woman, draped in an elaborate black lace dress, her face partially hidden behind a delicate silver veil. She was watching Adora, not in passing curiosity, but with the kind of interest that sent a chill through her bones. The woman moved gracefully through the crowd, stopping just within earshot. You are the senator's new bride, aren't you? Adora hesitated. And you are? The woman smiled faintly. Someone who used to be where you are now. Adora's pulse quickened. You've attended the masquerade? I did. The woman's expression darkened, and I left before it could consume me. A waiter approached, but before Adora could ask more, the woman placed something in her hand, a small folded note. Read it when you're alone. Then, just as suddenly as she had appeared, she melted back into the crowd. Later that night, in the privacy of her bedroom, Adora unfolded the note with trembling hands. Three words were written in elegant cursive script. Don't drink anything. Her blood ran cold. The masquerade was less than a week away, and suddenly Adora was more terrified than ever. Adora couldn't shake the woman's warning. Don't drink anything. The words echoed in her mind, filling her with unease. That night, as Obina lay fast asleep beside her, she pulled out her laptop and began searching. The annual masquerade, Abuja. Nothing. Not a single article. Not even a passing mention in society columns. It was as if the event didn't exist. And yet, she knew it did. Her invitation was proof. Frustrated, she tried another approach. Obin Nakalu's family history. This time, she found something, an old article buried in the archives of a defunct political journal. The Kano dynasty, power, influence, and the unbreakable circle. She clicked on it, her heart pounding. The article detailed the family's rise to power, how for generations the Kalus had been untouchable in Nigerian politics. Every scandal that threatened them mysteriously disappeared. Every rival who opposed them either fell from grace or vanished altogether. A pattern emerged. For decades, each generation of the Kalu family had attended a private gathering shortly before securing political dominance. The journalist had suggested, without proof, that this gathering was more than just a social event. A ritual, Adaora whispered to herself. She kept scrolling, but the article cut off abruptly, as if it had been censored. There was no trace of the author, no follow-up stories. The air in the room felt suddenly thick, suffocating. A sharp knock at the door made her jump. She slammed the laptop shut. Who is it? She called, her voice unsteady. Silence. Slowly, she stood and walked toward the door. When she opened it, the hallway was empty, except for one thing, another black envelope. Adora picked it up with trembling hands, peeling it open. Inside was a single card, embossed with golden letters. You are expected. The night of the masquerade arrived with an eerie stillness. Abuja's skyline shimmered in the distance, but the Kalu estate, where the event was to be held, was eerily silent. No media coverage, no announcements, just an unspoken rule that the powerful knew to follow. Adora stood before the full-length mirror in her bedroom, adjusting the intricate mask Obina had given her. It was made of ivory and gold, shaped like a bird with outstretched wings. Beneath it, she felt more like a prey than a guest. Beautiful, Obina murmured from behind, adjusting his own mask, sleek, black, and featureless. She turned to him, her unease growing. Who will be there? The ones who matter. His voice was smooth, but there was an edge to it. Just stay by my side, Ada. And remember, speak only when necessary. A black car whisked them away from the mansion, following a road that twisted deep into the hills, far from the city lights. Adora expected to see security or staff, but when they arrived at the secluded venue, a grand ancient estate, hidden within the forest, there were no guards. No one directed them. The guests simply knew where to go. A pair of massive wooden doors creaked open, revealing a vast ballroom battered in flickering candle light. The air was thick with incense, mingling with the scent of aged wine and something else, something metallic. Blood? Her stomach churned. Figures draped in elaborate robes and gilded masks moved like specters, whispering in hushed tones. No cameras, no social media, only the silent agreement that what happened here never left these walls. At the center of the room stood a towering statue, an ancient deity with a hollow face, its mouth stretched into an eternal scream. Obina leaned close, his breath warm against her skin. Welcome to the masquerade. The evening began with music and laughter, but Adora knew it was all a facade. She could feel it in the way the guests watched one another, not with amusement, but with calculation. Then a bell rang. The laughter died instantly. A robed figure stepped forward, raising a chalice. It is time, he announced. The offering must begin. Adora's breath hitched as a masked server approached her, holding a goblet of deep crimson liquid. Don't drink anything. Her fingers trembled as she reached for the cup, her mind racing. Had she just stepped into something she couldn't escape? Adora stared at the goblet in her hand, her fingers wrapped around its cold golden rim. The liquid inside was dark, viscous, too thick to be wide. The masked server didn't move, didn't speak. He simply waited. Across the room, Obina lifted his own goblet and drank without hesitation. One by one, the guests followed, tilting their masks just enough to sip from their cups. Adora's heartbeat pounded in her ears. Don't drink anything. The woman's warning rang louder than ever. She hesitated for a fraction too long. A figure in a crimson robe turned toward her. Though his mask obscured his face, she felt his gaze pierce through her. You must drink, Madame Carlo, he said in a low, commanding voice. It is tradition. Her throat tightened. The room was deathly silent now, all eyes hidden behind masks, waiting to see if she would defy them. Think! Adaora lifted the goblet to her lips, but only let the liquid touch her mouth before lowering it. She nodded slightly, feigning compliance. The tension in the room eased. The robed figure stepped forward again, raising his arms. Let the first offering be made. A door at the far end of the hall creaked open. Two guards led a trembling young man forward, his hands bound in front of him. He was barefoot, his clothes tattered. His face was uncovered, a deliberate humiliation. Adora's breath caught. The man's eyes darted around the room, searching for mercy that would never come. Please, he croaked. Please, I don't deserve this. A soft blow to his stomach silenced him. He collapsed to his knees before the towering deity statue, his face twisted in agony. The robed figure turned toward the crowd. The gods demand the truth, he intoned, and so the first offering shall confess his sins. The young man sobbed, I don't. A second masked figure stepped forward, holding a curved dagger. Adora's entire body went rigid. She turned to Obinna, her voice barely above a whisper. What is this? He didn't answer. His fingers tightened around her waist, a silent command to stay quiet. The young man's breath came in ragged gasps. Then, as if knowing there was no escape, he forced out a confession. I stole money, he choked, from my employer. I swear, I only took a little. I just needed. The dagger flashed, one quick, precise slice across his throat. Adaora let out a strangled gasp, slapping a hand over her mouth. The young man goggled, his eyes wide with terror as he collapsed onto the floor, blood pooling around him. The robed figure bent down, dipping his fingers into the crimson poodle. He smeared it across his own mask before turning back to the silent crowd. The gods have accepted his truth. The room erupted in polite applause. Adaora felt like she was drowning. This wasn't just an elite gathering. This was a cult, and she had just become part of it. Adora's hands trembled as the applause faded. The young man's lifeless body was dragged away without ceremony, his blood leaving a dark trail across the marble floor. No one looked disturbed. No one gasped or protested. Instead, they returned to their wine, their hushed conversations, their quiet laughter, as if they had merely witnessed a routine performance. Adaora turned to Obinna, her voice sharp with disbelief. What the hell was that? He barely spared her a glance. Lower your voice. Lower my... She clenched her fists. A man was just murdered, Obinna. And you... She stared at him, searching for some sign of regret, some flicker of guilt. There was none. He exhaled, pinching the bridge of his nose as if she were being unreasonable. That man was a thief. He was a person. Obinna leaned in, his voice low and firm. That was his offering, his truth. The gods demand honesty, Adaora, and in return, they protect us. She recoiled. Gods? This isn't some ancient shrine, Obinna. This is madness. His jaw tightened. It's survivor. Her stomach turned. And if I had refused to drink? For the first time, something dark flickered in his gaze. Then it would have been the one making an offering. Eyes crawled down her spine. She had been so careful, pretending to sip the wine. But had anyone noticed? Obina studied her face, then sighed. You wanted to be part of this world, Ada. This is what it takes. She shook her head, barely breathing. I never wanted this. His fingers tightened around her wrist. Then act like you belong. Because the ones who don't, he glanced toward the blood-stained floor. He didn't need to finish the sentence. Adaora forced herself to stand still, to keep her face neutral, to swallow her horror. This was bigger than she had imagined, more dangerous than she had feared, and she had no idea how to escape. But one thing was clear. If she wasn't careful, she wouldn't leave this masquerade alive. Adora sat stiffly at the grand banquet table, her mind spinning around her. The masquerade continued, the guests dining and laughing as though nothing horrific had just taken place. Gilded chandeliers cast flickering light over polished silverware, disguising the sinister nature of the gathering. Her pulse hammered in her ears. She had to know what she was dealing with. A woman in an emerald green gown took the empty seat beside her, her golden mask shaped like a serpent's head. You must be Adora, she said smoothly. Adora turned warily. And you are? The woman smiled, sipping from her goblet. Someone who remembers what it's like to be new. She gestured toward the room. This must be overwhelming for you. You could say that, Adora said tightly. The woman chuckled. It always is, the first time. But don't worry, in time you will understand. Adora narrowed her eyes. Understand what? That power comes at a price. The woman swirled the wine in her glass, watching it darken in the candlelight. Do you know how all this began? Adora's throat felt dry. No. The woman leaned in slightly. Then let me enlighten you. She lowered her voice, her words coiling like a serpent. A long time ago, before Abuja became the city it is today, there was a group of men who wanted to control everything: trade, politics, even fate itself. But they knew that ordinary means would not be enough. They needed something stronger, something divine. Adora shivered. The gods? The woman nodded. Ancient ones, older than any religion we know today. They made a pact, offering their deepest secrets in exchange for untouchable power. And the gods listened. Adora felt sick. And the sacrifices? The woman shrugged. A necessary balance. The gods give, and the gods take. The more blood spilled, the stronger the protection. Adora swallowed hard. And my husband? How long has he been part of this? The woman tilted her head. Obina was born into it, Adora, just as your children will be. Adora's blood ran cold. She barely managed to whisper, What do you mean? The woman set down her glass. Every family in this room has made their offering. That's why they thrive, why they stay in power. She smiled. Soon you'll have to do the same. Adora felt the walls closing in. Expected her to kill? Her hands trembled as realization crashed over her. If she didn't escape this life now, she never would. Adora felt trapped beneath her mask, her breath coming in shallow gasps. The weight of the woman's words pressed down on her. Every family in this room has made their offering. Soon you will have to do the same. She turned her gaze to Obinna, who was deep in conversation with the senator. His laughter was smooth, his body language effortless. He belonged here, and he expected her to belong too. Not in this life, not ever. Her heart pounded as she made a decision. She had to leave tonight. But how? Her eyes darted toward the grand doors at the entrance, where masked guards stood like silent sentinels. No one had left since the ceremony began. A heavy hand landed on her shoulder. She froze. Walk with me, Obina murmured in her ear, his tone pleasant, yet unyielding. Adora forced a smile and let him guide her through the candle-lit corridors. The deeper they went, the quieter the masquerade became, until they reached a small balcony overlooking the vast moonlit estate. Cool air kissed her skin. For a brief moment, she considered running, just bolting down the steps, disappearing into the night. Obina's grip on her waist tightened. Don't even think about it. Her stomach dropped. Slowly, she turned to him. What are you talking about? He exhaled, shaking his head. You don't hide your thoughts well, Ada. I can see the fear in your eyes. She swallowed hard. Shouldn't I be afraid? His gaze darkened. Fear is good. It means you understand what's at stake. She clenched her jaw. I never agreed to this, Obina. You did, he said simply, the moment you married me. Adora's hands balled into fists. That's not fair. You never told me. Would you have stayed if I had? Silence stretched between them. Obina sighed, brushing the loose curl from her face. You think you can leave? He leaned in, his voice like a blade against her skin. You can't. There is no way out, Adora. Not for you, not for me. She jerked away from his touch. You're lying. Am I? He gestured toward the masquerade hall. Look at them. Do you think they would let you leave, knowing everything you do now? Her pulse raced. He was right. She wasn't just an outsider anymore. She was a witness. If she tried to run, they would come for her. Obina sighed, his voice softening. You are my wife. That means you are protected, but only if you play your role. Adora's skin crawled. And what if I refuse? His silence was answer enough. She turned away, gripping the balcony rail as nausea twisted in her stomach. There was no way out. Unless she looked down at the gardens below. The hedges were dense, the night thick with shadows. If she could just. A soft voice interrupted her thoughts. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Adora whipped around. A masked figure stood in the darkness of the corridor, watching her. Unlike the others, their mask was plain, just a smooth, featureless white. Something about them felt different. She took a cautious step forward. Who are you? The figure tilted his head. Someone who knows what happens to those who try to leave. Adora's throat tightened. And what happens? The figure leaned in, whispering just one word. They disappear. A chill ran down Adora's spine. She had never been more afraid. Adora's breath caught in her throat. The masked figure's words echoed in her mind. They disappear. She took a step closer, lowering her voice. Who are you? The figure hesitated, then spoke just above a whisper. Someone who knows the price of betrayal. A sharp chill ran through her. Are you saying people have tried to escape before? The figure nodded. Adora's pulse pounded. What happened to them? The figure tilted their head slightly, glancing over Adora's shoulder. She turned just in time to see Obinna approaching, his face unreadable. When she turned back, the masked figure was gone. She swallowed hard, forcing herself to appear composed. Making new friends? Obinna asked casually, though his eyes flickered with suspicion. Adora smiled thinly. Just getting to know the guests. He nodded, but his gaze lingered a moment too long. Good. It's important to understand the people in this room. A warning. Adora let him lead her back into the grand hall, but her mind raced. She needed to find out what happened to those who tried to escape, and she needed to do it before she became one of them. The next morning, Adora sat in her luxurious dressing room, staring at herself in the mirror. The golden mask from the masquerade rested on the table beside her, a symbol of the world she had been forced into. She had to play her role, for now. Obina had left early for a private meeting, giving her a rare moment of freedom. She took out her phone and searched discreetly for missing persons in Abuja's elite circles. The results were chilling. Over the last decade, several high profile women had vanished wives, mistresses, even daughters of powerful men. All of them had been last seen attending exclusive private events. There were no police investigations, no media opera, just silence. Her hands trembled as she scrolled through photos of the missing women. Then she saw her, the woman from last night, the one with the emerald gown and serpent mask. Adora's breath hitched. The name under the photo sent ice through her veins. Chinwe Okoye, missing since 2018. She grabbed the table for support. If Chinwe was missing, then who the hell had she spoken to last night? A cold realization settled over her. The ones who vanish don't just disappear, they stay. And now Adora was next in line. Adora's fingers shook as she stared at the photo on her screen. Chinwe Okoye, missing since 2018. But Adora had seen her, spoken to her, just last night. She swallowed hard, trying to rationalize it. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe she had spoken to someone who only looked like Chinwe. But deep down, she knew better. Chinwe's eyes, her voice, the knowing way she had warned Adora. It had been her. So how was she still here? A sudden knock on the dressing room door made Adora flinch. She quickly locked her phone and composed herself. Madam, Chief said to remind you about your lunch meeting with the senator's wife. Her maid, Halima, called from outside. Adora closed her eyes, exhaling slowly. Play the role. Stay unnoticed. Thank you, Halima. I'll be ready shortly. She stood and stared at herself in the mirror. For now, she had to pretend, but she would find out the truth, no matter what it cost her. The lunch was at an exclusive garden restaurant in Maitama. The air was thick with the scent of hibiscus and freshly brewed tea, but Adora could barely taste the food. Senator Carlos' wife, a heavily jeweled woman named Florence, smiled at her. You must be adjusting well to your new life. Adora returned the smile, forcing warmth into her voice. I'm still learning. Florence stirred her tea slowly. Obina is a good man, powerful, respected, dangerous, Adora thought. She hesitated, then carefully asked, have you ever heard of Chinwe Okoye? Florence's hand paused mid-stir. For a second, the woman's polished mask slipped. Something unreadable flashed in her eyes. Then, just as quickly, she smiled again. She was a lovely girl. A shame, really. Adora's pulse quickened. What happened to her? Florence's smile didn't falter. She made a mistake. A cold shiver ran down Adora's spine. Florence took a slow sip of her tea. I'll give you some advice, my dear. Don't ask questions you don't want answers to. The words settled over Adora like a warning. She gripped the napkin in her lap, trying to steady her hands. She had wanted the truth. Now she was starting to realize the truth might kill her. The deeper Adora digs, the darker the secrets become. But can she handle the truth? Or will it consume her? Stay tuned for part 2 of The Midnight Mask. You won't want to miss what comes next. Thanks for watching. Please do remember to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for more content like this. And let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Bye.